were no more likely to be saved than the spider weaving its fine, tiny web in the corner of the front door. It occurred to Mercy that perhaps they were even afraid and sorrowful. A mere 8-year-old girl like herself would fly like a bird into heaven's kingdom, and they would never get to see the shining gates, not even a gleam of them. In truth, that made her somewhat sorrowful too. She turned away from the wooden shack and its rickety porch and set off down the dirt path that led to the river, where she had a hope of meeting Tony, her friend, and telling him the good news. She knew for sure he'd want to hear all about it. As she walked along the road, the joy she'd felt earlier returned, only now it had taken on a kind of shimmering quality that was outside and inside at the same time, whereas before it was only contained inside. Now it had become beautiful to both feel and behold. The mountain trees either side of the road seemed lit with a perfect kind of light. She looked down at her yellow cotton skirt and her skinny legs and the blue shoes, which, despite the fact they were opened up at the toe with a knife because they had grown too small, were still comfortable to walk in and in which she could get along pretty well. Though if she went too fast, the ends of her toes tapped painfully on the dusty road, so that fact gave her a problem on occasion. Then she heard the noise of a car engine behind her, and as it came closer she realised it was slowing down. Sure enough, a red truck came up alongside, and the engine idled down to a steady beat as it stopped. She could only see the reflections of the trees on the window, so it was impossible to see who was inside. Slowly the window wound down, and first off all she could see was a battered suede hat with a leather thong around the crown, and then it got wound down further so it was completely open and she could see the face. She felt her own face practically splitting in two in a grin. "Bob!" she said, joy in her voice. He cut off the engine and grinned back. Bob owned his own store, the Full Cart, down in the tiny town on the outskirts of the mountain forest. It was where Mercy got pretty much everything they needed. She went with her 2 big plastic shopping bags with diamond patterns on the side and writing that shouted, "Happy shopping!" She'd used them for so long, the handles had got cracked and crispy. After Bob filled them with groceries, he always seemed to find a way to put a little something extra in, a peanut butter cup, or, more rarely, as Bob said they were hard to come by, a whistling pop that played real music, both of which Mercy was unsure if they were really included in the scope of food stamps. He'd wink at her when he dropped these items in, and she'd grin back and say, "Happy shopping!" Then he always asked, "You want to wait and let me run you home?" as she picked up the bags to leave. "Those bags are near bigger than you." But she'd always wave at him, no. "Don't you worry about me. My muscles are pretty strong." She didn't think Ma and Pa would like seeing her get down from his truck outside the house, bringing people to their door. Besides, she always liked the walk back through the quiet forest way, the dirt path that smelled so sweet, and the birds that sang their tiny heads off as if she wasn't there. If she had to stop and rest every once in a while because the bags were heavy and her arms were tired, what did it matter? There was no place she had to be, and she could suck on the whistling pop in peace. First off, she made it sing away to the birds for half an hour until it got filled up with spit and stopped working. Only then she'd lick on the sweetness for another hour until just a soggy white stick was left and her lips and tongue were stained bright red or purple or orange. Now, when she saw Bob's truck, it gave her the chance to tell someone else about the thing that had just happened, and she knew he'd surely be pleased. "Bob," she said, "I've been saved." He nodded up and down. "Uh-huh. Is that the case?" "It is, Bob. You know, it's wonderful." She felt the need to convince him, because he wasn't seeming happy enough about it. "Uh-huh," he said again. "You been down to the tent revival, then?" "I sure have. You should go too, Bob. It's wonderful." "It's been there for a while now." "Yep, but they're saving for a real church now, made of..."